7:31 p.m. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Those that can rise, please rise. Please place your right hand over your heart, face the flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Duff.
Councilmember Lau.
Present.
Councilmember Johnson.
Present.
Councilmember Cash.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Foskey.
Here.
Mayor Hepburn.
Here. This is the time we set aside too for announcements of any upcoming community events. Nothing on the agenda, obviously, but if anybody has any announcements for any upcoming events. Good evening, Rami.
Good evening, mayors, council members, city manager, and staff. My name is Remy, and I'm here from Tri-City Mental Health. I am also a proud board member of the Committee for Cultural Awareness and Social Inclusion called CASI. I am honored to be working toward creating a city of hospitality and welcome. CASI was begun as a grassroots movement in 2019, and our intention is to educate, inform, encourage, and build awareness for all community members in the city of LaVerne. The focus of the committee is to provide understanding that every inhabitant is entitled to equal accommodations within the city. Most importantly, we strive to uplift and create a community where all are welcome, and we feel that in our diversity we are stronger, richer, wiser to meet the challenges of our ever-changing world. The committee holds space for representatives from the city, elected officials, Tri-City Mental Health, University of LaVerne, NAACP, Youth and Family Action Committee, Fire, Police, Chamber of Commerce, Hillcrest, and residents. Our online meetings are held monthly on the first Wednesday of the month at 5 p.m. for various programs and offerings. You can email the city to get on the list, and also we have a Facebook page, and our website is diverselaverne.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Remy. Anybody else for any announcements? Then we're going to move to introduction of newly hired firefighter paramedics and newly hired firefighters. Alexander Arnold.
Oh, this is great.
That's where we get to embarrass you. Alexander Arnold, firefighter paramedic. Arnold grew up in Santa Clarita. He attended college at the California Lutheran University and earned a degree in business administration. After graduating, he went to EMT, and then 2 years later, he went to UCLA to get his paramedic license. 1 month later, he attended Oxnard College's Regional Fire Academy. He has spent 10 years working as a lifeguard, the last 4 years with the County of Los Angeles. He has also worked in private EMS at both an EMT and paramedic. Congratulations. We're going to have you step over here. We're just going to embarrass you all at once. Okay. Tristan Janeway. Firefighter Janeway grew up and currently lives in Temecula, California. After high school, he obtained his AS in Fire Technology from Palomar College. He attended the Ben Clark Training Center, where he completed his basic fire academy. He was an EMT for AMR Hemet while he was going to NCTI to become a paramedic. He received his paramedic license this year in 2022, prior to starting his dream career here for LaVerne Fire. In his free time, he enjoys spending time with family and friends, hanging out with his girlfriend, Shab. Is that how we say it?
Shab.
Shab, there you go. I don't want to mess that up. His dog, Buzzy, traveling and golfing. Welcome. Sean Wilkins. Welcome. Newly hired firefighters. Firefighter Wilkins grew up in the currently living in Temecula. He enlisted in the Marine Corps at 20. Yeah, there you go. 20 years old and is at 20 years old and is currently serving in the reserves after 6 years active duty. Thank you for your service. He has been married for 2 years, and his wife Dana just welcomed their first son into the world 8 weeks ago. Congratulations. In his free time, he enjoys surfing, skydiving, and anything outdoors. And I must remind you, once people have children that are employed by the city of LaVerne, they stay forever. We're happy to have you. Peter Howell. Firefighter Howell is from Chico, California. After high school, he enlisted in the United States Air Force as a security forces member. Thank you for serving. Where he served for 8 years. After his time in the military, he enrolled at CSU Chico, obtaining a degree in kinesiology. Following completion of his degree, he enrolled in the 76th Butte College Fire Academy to pursue a career in the fire service. As of March of this year, he has worked as an ambulance operator for the LaVerne Fire Department. He currently resides in Placentia, California with his girlfriend Amanda and their 2 dogs. Welcome. Right. Firefighter Coatney was born in Redlands and raised in Murrieta. He graduated from Chaparral High School and played water polo all 4 years while being a fire explorer for Murrieta Fire and Rescue. After graduating, he went to EMT school and the Fire Academy at Moreno Valley College. After he worked for a private ambulance company and they got hired as an ambulance operator for the LaVerne Fire Department. He has worked as an AO for about 4 months. He just recently earned his AS degree in fire science. He enjoys surfing, camping, riding dirt bikes, and spending time with family and friends. Welcome, Bryce. Kenny, come on down. Welcome. Kenny Villasenor. Firefighter Villasenor was raised in the Covina-Glendora area and now currently lives in Rancho Cucamonga with his wife, Christina. Hi. And their first baby, so I have to be quiet. Sorry. First baby, Oliver Reed, who arrived on August 16th. You're amazing. You're incredible. Seriously. You. For the past 9 years, he has been working for the United States Forest Service. 3 of those years were on Dalton Hotshots, and the remaining years were on engine companies. During that time, he also worked for 2 years as an apprentice firefighter for LaVerne. He enjoys spending the majority of his time with his friends and family, outdoor activities, traveling, going to concerts, and watching and playing sports. Welcome. Chief. I want to first say that I know that we now have a new BC with Sam over here. Why don't you stand up there, Sam? One of the reasons, besides just having a great new chief, is Sam also with training and bringing these EMTs into our city and ambulance and also turning them into firefighters. We're very, very blessed to have that happen. Great job, BC Dominic. Great job, Chief Nig. That's why we're doing so well in our community, staffing with such great young people that are going to rock the boat. Chief, you have the mic.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. You can tell the salty veterans because they hide out in the corner back there. Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's an exciting time for LaVerne Fire Department. This exemplary group of gentlemen here round out LaVerne Fire Department. We're fully staffed for the first time in 5+ years. So. To go even beyond that, we're truly recruiting and retaining the cream of the crop. We have everything from military vets to storied fire service traditional children to Forest Service vets. I mean, this is really the cream of the crop that's out there. So we're incredibly excited to have them. We're very proud to have them. Thank you guys for coming and joining the LaVerne Fire Department. We hope that we'll serve you just as much as you'll serve us in this community. So again, welcome. This is about the 3rd time we've recognized you guys, so this is it. You gotta get through probation now. So here you go.
If you guys would like to take pictures with the family, do you guys have family here? Don't shake all at once. Just because you're in front of everybody and you're live, you know. Would people like to take pictures? We can take like a 5-minute recess. If you'd like to take some pictures with your family members, come on up. We're gonna recess for 5 minutes, everybody.
Smile, you're the back.
How are you? Pretty good. How are you?
Dinner, guys.
How's your leg?
No, you gotta get one.
No. We need your baby. Right in the
He has no idea what's going on.
Anna's up, she's good. Oh, Wheeler. Not up in some areas, we are. Station was different model. Yeah, she'll be there soon.
Round of applause, everybody, for these young gentlemen.
Nice to meet you. What's up, brother? Good to see you. How you doing?
See you later.
Thank you, Chief, and all the firefighters. Paramedics, thank you, guys. You don't have to stay, believe me. You don't have to stay. Pretty exciting, but talk about trash, get holes, and some other stuff. Don't worry about it. See, he remembers. We're going to go ahead and reconvene the meeting right now at 6:45. What's up?
I said hi, by the way.
Mr. Duff, do we have some items pulled from the agenda?
It's easier that way, huh?
How are you?
6C1, or 6C, Resolution 1. Also, I have a conflict with 6.5. And the East Street and Second Street improvement project.
Project.
So,
Due to rental property, but due.
We have a conflict.
I have a conflict due to rental property that I own within 500 feet.
267. And then we also pulled kind of order, 2268. And then there was one, so we're going.
As noted on the,
2268, and there's another one.
as noted on the agenda, Councilmember Lau has the conflict on the University of LaVerne homecoming matter because she's on the board. So she will not participate in that item
Will she have to leave the dais or
No.
just stay and just
No.
abstain?
because it's consent.
Okay.
Yes.
Number 3, number 4C.
No, it's number 5.
Number 5. Okay, so we're basically pulling the 3 items, is that correct, Mr. Duff?
Yes.
But everything else on the
It's on the
consent calendar, do
Second page.
we have anything on those? Any discussion? The consent, with what's left? We're going to hold those and pull the other ones and we'll open those up for discussion.
Move for approval?
Second?
I'll second, noting my recusal from.
Very good.
why he does
Yes.
it.
Okay, the motion, so we will move to
61, solutions with Hawaiian Garden, exchange of Prop A funds.
yes.
I've been contacted a number of times lately regarding the streets and the conditions of the roads in LaVerne. I know that Prop A funds can't necessarily be used for every street, but we are receiving 75 cents per dollar of the Prop A funds that we do receive. I'm not sure if these funds have already been allocated to a different budget item, but I know the streets on the street B Street in LaVerne has had terrible root problems. We've had a lot of residents in those neighborhoods complain about it. Arrow Highway, next to the medians where the pine trees are growing. Sometimes you just gotta really hold on to the steering wheel because it's so bad. And along the railroad tracks going into Metropolitan Water District, we've had numerous complaints about people, especially riding bikes, that those tracks are so difficult to cross. I'm not sure if those funds can be used for those projects after they become general fund dollars, but I would like to see that be a priority.
Anyone else have to speak on that? And we'll send it over to the city manager. Mr. Duff, do you want to explain that? On Measure 8?
Yes, the lucky.
Should we do public comment first? Let's do public comment on it. We wish to speak on this item. Ms. Beauchamp.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The reason I requested that Resolution 2265 be pulled is when a measure or bond measure is presented to the voters, it is done for a specific issue. Prop A was known for transportation, which then became referred to as transportation funds. Based on the fact that these funds were supposed to be used for transportation and are being sold for less than their full capacity, I think is a blatant lie to the face of the residents and the voters who approved this measure. In the resolution, it does not explain what these dollars would be allocated for, not even which department, although I make an educated guess that it would be for community services since the request is coming from Mrs. Rand. I just wish that the council would present the items that are on the consent calendar going forward before it comes time to vote on the consent calendar, so that the residents have an opportunity to inquiry, make comments, send emails to the council, and, I feel like we're being suppressed. Our comments and our free speech is being suppressed because there is no open dialogue with these items. And this is on a continual basis. And we're constantly having to have items removed from the consent calendar, which is unproductive to the council because they plan on voting on these items. And I know you do much research and reading these documents and have those decisions in mind ahead of time. But I think some of your decisions could be affected or swayed somehow by listening to the comments of the residents. So what I'm requesting is that this item be tabled until such time that details of the money where it's going to be allocated to what department can be provided to the residents, and then the city council can vote on that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Anyone else on this item? Mr. Bowen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. What I noticed is this is at least the 4th or 5th straight year that we've done this. And it's probably, I'd have to go back, which I'm not going to do, but it's got to be close to $1.5 million now that we trade every year to another city. And I just find it hard to believe year after year after year, we have no transportation issues and we're willing to sell it to City of Industry, in this case, Hawaiian Gardens. Their needs seem to be obviously urgent because they want to buy it from us. But I also went back and looked at my property tax bill for the last 5 years, and lo and behold, I get billed for it every year. Every time I pay my property tax, there's Prop A money in it. So I give whatever I give, and the city gives it away for 75 cents on the dollar. Well, quite frankly, I'd rather not pay it. But to me, this is another example of a tax that never goes away and never gets spent for the purposes it was originally taxed for. So who's got the insight in this city, planning forward, to not give our money away, but to spend it for the purposes that it was originally taxed and continues to be taxed to this day? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Anyone else wish to speak on this? Anyone on the call? No. We're going to close this and bring it up to the dais. City Manager Duff.
Yes, Councilmember Johnson, the locations, street locations that you suggested, Prop A funds are restricted in use for public transportation. And I did inquire about those 3 locations, and I've been told that they are not eligible for use of Prop A funds to repair. Prop A funds, I believe, is a sales tax that was implemented to create public transportation opportunities. And as such, the provision also gives the city the ability to exchange if cities receive excess Prop A funds, which in LaVerne's case, this year we do. Prop A funds from year to year fluctuate depending on the economy. This year we have excess Prop A funds, and we are fortunate, I believe, in being able to find a city willing to exchange general fund dollars for those Prop A dollars, because they have limited use. General funds come into the city, and you have wide discretion about the use of those funds.
You mentioned that we are not spending all of our Prop A funds. Are we spending any of those Prop A funds on transportation projects?
Yes, and for details of that, I'll ask Yvonne Duran, Community Services Director, but I think what she's going to tell you is we feel we're meeting all the transportation needs that have been identified. That's not to say we meet every need, but those needs that have been identified by the residents and city staff. Yvonne? Could you just list maybe 3 or 4 transportation services that are provided with Prop A funds?
Mayor and Council, yes. So some of those funds are spent on Get-About, senior passes, also subsidies for Metrolink, transit excursions. Those are our senior excursions and regular excursions that the department puts on, as just to relate a couple of them, and also Foothill Transit too. So those funds are being used for the needs for the city currently. So we're able to cover with the current funds what we have.
I believe in the past we've offered discount, like Metrolink.
We do, and there's subsidies, and I can tell you right now, Metrolink is going to do a 30% discount. So we're not going to be paying the full amount as well through those subsidies. So just to let you know, for this month coming up, so we do offset those costs for LaVerne residents.
What is the time frame on those? If we, obviously and Mr. Bowen was correct, it's been 4 or 5 times, I think, that we've transferred those dollars and traded them in. What is the, and we generally use those every year for what we have, like you're saying right now. What's the sunset on that? If we do not transfer or sell those to another agency or another city, what's the sunset clause on those? Do we have to give those back after a certain time? If there's, in that,
Chad?
You're gonna bring the whole crew up here.
It's a little bit complex when it comes to the funds.
No, I appreciate it. It's just, I think people are asking questions, even myself. It's like, okay. Yes,
Yes, Mayor Council. So those funds, I believe it's a 3-year, we have to use them for 3 years, so basically we use the older funds first and then roll the new funds in, so we are not, I guess, ever losing those funds. So what we're basically spending is our 3-year-old funds, and everything that comes in is basically new. So our finance department keeps track of that, and makes sure that none of those funds are lapsing.
So everything that we're using these funds for right now are currently in use. And we can't really use more than that than what we have.
No,
Offering more services. We don't have buses, we don't have metro, we don't have any of that.
We are offering everything that we possibly can. It does fluctuate just dependent on the need of the LaVerne residents. And it was budgeted in this last year's budget of what we projected we will be using. But yeah, it changes. I can tell you right now with senior bus passes, it comes and goes. It just depends. We book as many excursions as we can within those boundaries. Even those, if we're outside of those boundaries, we can't use those funds because there is a map that we have to use. And so sometimes we spend more than we need to, and if we need to, and we're over that budget line item, we do allocate a little bit more funds to that. But those go to senior excursions, regular excursions as well.
So those monies that we're now transferring to Lion Gardens for the swap, those are the 3-year-old funds?
Those are the older funds.
So those wouldn't be sunsetting, so we're utilizing those.
We're
and then
coming
we
to the
receive-
term for that.
Okay, so we receive the other funds, so, and basically it goes into the general fund.
Correct.
It's not earmarked for anything but general fund dollars.
Correct.
I think that was the question from, it's like, where does it go? What goes into the general fund and utilized for anything we want to actually?
Yes, and some of those fees are as well, just to let you know, towards gold line related items. So we do have some money set aside for that as well.
Thank you very much. Community Services Manager on the round, thank you, and Chad Peterson, Assistant, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add,
Yes.
this is not unusual at all. I've been city attorney for 3 cities over the years, and each and every one of those cities, each and every year, enters into such an agreement for excess funds. Sometimes it's City of Industry, sometimes Hawaiian Gardens, other cities that have bus systems typically, and can use these funds. But this is, Mr. Bowen said he'd gone back 5 years. I would guess probably you can find it every year for 30 years, or however long the tax has been in effect. But it is something that's done. The amount of money that the other corresponding city that wants to buy the transit funds, I've seen that fluctuate from maybe 67 cents on the dollar up to 75, sometimes 77. It's just not an unusual thing.
So really, right now, Community Service Manager Graham, we're using them for the gold line. Our stuff on the gold line right now, we'll probably be using those funds for that. And I know that Ms. Beauchamp was asking about that, so they don't go unused. And we do have a major need for the gold line, so. Is there any questions or comments from council members?
I'd still like to get those streets repaired. And I think that's.
But that's not an agenda item.
That's not an agenda item, but I think it relates to transportation. Residents are paying this tax, whether it be a sales tax or attached to the property tax bill. I just hate to see losing 25 cents out of every dollar.
I think we have to look at the CIP too and see where we're at with those streets and see. But
I'm sorry, Mayor, all 3 of the locations that you identified are in the CIP plan. I wish I could tell you if it's next year or the following year, but they're within the next 3 years, those streets are going to be addressed.
Councilmember Crosby.
And if those streets can't be using the Prop A funds, if they're put in the general fund, then that can be used for those CIP
Right,
projects.
75 cents on the dollar.
Yes.
And I will say, Mr. Johnson, Councilman Johnson, that East Street and Narrow Highway is a two-hand steering wheel. If you've ever been on Narrow Highway coming east, and you don't hold on to that steering wheel, you'll find yourself in the other lane, and B Street's no different. Those big trees just absolutely are rut city, so.
Especially along the fairgrounds.
Yes, yes. Councilman Lau.
So I just wanted to say thank you to staff for offering that clarification. I think that it's helpful for all of us to know what, where things go to, so, you know, Danita and others who have raised the question, I think that's appropriate. I think it's another good thing to remember that whenever we're dealing with like Prop 8 or measure money, there are so many strings attached to what we can and can't use it for, so it's always good to know what is available, and I believe that the staff is doing everything that they can to use as much of that money for the allowable purposes. And to the point of the revolving 3-year term, if we don't use it for those things, then it goes away. So even though it's 75 cents on the dollar, that's, as the city attorney noted, it's on the higher end, and at least we're getting that to be able to use in our general fund. So I think it's a matter of also balancing how can we best make use of the funds to the allowable capacities, and then from there, what can we do to receive or get the return on investment. So thank you for those questions. And then just one note for staff as well, on page 24 of the, it's under captions, or I'm sorry, waiver, page 13, it's section 13. It makes a reference to industry, not Hawaiian Gardens, so just to swap out, please.
Okay, no further questions or comments? Council? Thank you, staff. I appreciate the information, and thank you, City Manager Dell, for explaining how this works. And then we actually need a motion.
Since we have individuals that have to be.
Oh, should we do it all together?
No, I don't think so, because we have different people have to be off different items.
That's true.
Doing all individuals.
Okay, then we'll do this one. That's a great idea. So,
I move to approve resolution number 2265.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh, wrong.
Oh, excuse me.
I did.
Motion carries. We get it? We move to 2268, is that correct, Mr. City Manager Duff?
67.
2267? Oh, that's right, we
We didn't take off consent.
No, that was on consent.
it was on consent, and you just, yeah.
Recuse from it.
So we go to 2268, is that correct? Yes.
Oh, I thought somebody did want 2267. I think Mr. Bowman might have.
Mr. Bowen, did you want 2267 for the homecoming event? Open up public comment.
Street closure.
Go ahead.
Yes, I have a real quick question. A couple of months ago, 2 months ago, there was a lot of discussion about the cruise and who pays for it, and $8,000 in police expense, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see anywhere in here about who pays for this and what it costs. It appears that does.
Yeah. She's recusing herself on the discussion. No, that's good. Go ahead.
So I guess what I'm asking is, does ULV pay for this, or does the city pay for this? Because it appears that the city does the work. They're going to do a closure, and the university has requested to have a portion of the streets closed, multi-day event. Somebody has to do the work. So I guess my question is, who pays?
Any other questions from the audience? Anybody online?
Doesn't look like it's
We'll close public comment, and we'll bring it back up to the dais. If I'm not mistaken, there was a breakout of how much the university was going to pay. Is that not correct, Mr. Duff? As far as the
I'm going to ask
what the university pays.
Community Development Director, Eric Shear.
Mr. Shear.
Yes,
Have the
Good evening,
floor.
Mr. Mayor, council members. This event is fully paid by the University of LaVerne, and that's why the agreement's attached to it. They pay the hourly rate for the police officers and street closures personnel. There are no direct costs to the city of LaVerne for this grant.
Great. Thank you, Director Scheer. Council, any comments, questions for staff?
Motion to approve 2267.
Second.
Okay. All vote, please. Hold it.
And vote carries 4-0.
Thank you. Thank you. That's okay. Okay, we move to item 2268, resolution of the City Council of the City of LaVerne, County of Los Angeles, State of California, approving the final map for tract 83064, request by KB Home Care Los Angeles, incorporate subdivided on parcel area of 5.57 acres at 2820 Amherst Street into a 42-unit single-family detached subdivision. We have this pulled, I think Ms. Beauchamp had pulled that. We'll open up public comment.
Regarding consent calendar 6CA, Resolution 2268, the approval of the final tract map from the developer KB Homes for the Amherst project should be tabled until the residents of the adjacent project have amount of time to say, be fair about it, 10 business days to review the tract map and plan and be able to submit their inquiries and comments to the city before the council makes their final decision to approve the plan. The city is more than well aware of the level of involvement of the residents that were adjacent to this project, both residents and homeowners. And that alone should be enough of a reason for the city to table the measure. But more importantly, most of the residents are unaware of their right to have an item removed from the consent calendar and allowed the opportunity to speak upon them. By not allowing the residents to speak is just another disrespect to your constituents. To continually approve projects and resolutions without providing the residents an opportunity to speak upon them is denying their constitutional right to exercise their First Amendment, not only of free speech, but also the denial of petitioning the government for redress of grievances. I will continue to work tirelessly, pleading to the council that they involve the residents in a more prevalent manner. So please, I respectfully request that you table this item until the adjacent residents can be informed and provide inquiries if necessary until your next city council meeting of October 3rd, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Any other public comment on this item? Mr. Gavaldon. Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here on my anniversary because of this issue. There's no communication, shows up in the agenda over the weekend, no opportunity to talk about it. I believe that council members Hepburn and Crosby and Lau were on the council last time this was brought up and approved by this council to proceed with one of those developments in the city that basically doesn't fit the neighborhoods. And since that time, I don't believe there's any conversation, not a single word, relative to any of the work that was promised of this council and followed to the traffic mitigation issues, the planning issues, the intersections all failing issues, all those things that technically were okay, but they're not okay. So I would like to know what effort has been made since that time and before this tract map has been submitted to work on those issues that was brought up by the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gavaldon. Any other questions, comments? Jared? Lovely. Mr. Howling, come on up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council have.
I think the process is more what's in discussion right now as far as how much we've done on the background, how much we had community input, and all the steps that's been taken for this project to get to this point.
Sure. So, back in 2021, there was a public hearing for this project, and at that public hearing, council approved the tentative map. Moving forward, once that map was approved, the project has gone into, call it the plan check phase. And so this evening's action is more of a formality for council to confirm that the map conforms to the tentative map and the conditions that were attached to it on its approval evening. It's staff recommendation that this map does conform to those details, and so it's up to council to either approve or deny the map. I might add, if council were to choose to deny the map, there is a requirement to provide very specific reasons for that, so we can provide that back to the developer, and that they can then amend whatever those issues that might be determined. So if that answers the question.
Council? Cash. Councilor Cash.
Thank you, Mayor. Were the people notified after 2021, was another town hall meeting where people had the opportunity to voice any other concerns that they had?
So that is not a requirement of the process. The public hearing that occurred in 2021 was that opportunity. And so the project, in all intents and purposes, has been approved by the council. This is a technical step to ensure that the map meets the requirements of the Subdivision Map Act and those conditions that were placed on the tentative map at the time of approval. So to answer your question, no, there was no additional noticing, but there is no requirement to do additional noticing. It's not a subject that is required to reopen any public hearings on that.
Well, I think if the public, just to comment on that, I think if the public had the opportunity to voice their opinion regarding any other change, we wouldn't be in the position where we're in now. And I wasn't here in 2021, I'm here in 2022, and my commitment will be to the people that I serve, that I am their voice. So as a courtesy to us here to tell us about this map, I think a courtesy could have been also given to the people there, just to give, they live around there. I don't live around there, but there's folks that do live in this city, so maybe in the future we could provide that.
I hear and understand that comment. Thank you.
It's just a conversation.
Question?
Council? Councilor Johnson, any comments, concerns?
It sounds like we've dotted our i's and crossed. It sounds like we've dotted our i's and crossed our t's on this. It's hard to know when we've given enough notice, opportunity to residents to actually come and have their say. Hello? Okay.
You're good.
So, while it's frustrating that this project may be going in the neighborhood, they've complied with the regulations, and I don't know if we deny this right now or postpone it another 10 days, does that put us in any legal jeopardy as a council or city?
Well, as the city engineer stated, you have to have very specific reasons if you're going to deny it. You should think about this process as essentially contractual. The tentative map sets forth certain conditions, and those conditions have to be satisfied before the council can approve the final map. Your staff has certified to you this evening that the developer has in fact met those conditions of the tentative map. And so I join their recommendation that you approve it tonight.
They could have met the conditions, but how do we know there are no changes? The developer was changed. That's not the original developer of the project.
Champ, we had our time at the podium, I'm sorry. Councilor Lau.
I would concur with Councilmember Johnson's comments that I think the staff and all the steps have been gone through. People may not always like what happens with it, but I think we followed what we were supposed to do. And per the California Government Code Section 66459, we are required to approve it if it conforms. And the staff is advising that it does conform. So I would be in agreement with that statement. My only other comment would be on under the resolution on the first page. under the first whereas, it says September, April 19th, it should just be April 19th, so if we could remove September, that would be great.
My apologies for that typo.
Thank you, Councilmember Crosby.
And just following up, this is the final map that was built from the tentative tract map. So it is just a copy from that, but just the final adjustments to it.
Yeah, so this is more of a technical document with a much higher level of detail than the tentative map. And so that is what we are confirming tonight. So the city, myself, the city engineer, as well as the city surveyor, who will certify for the technical accuracy of the map, review the map and come to that determination, as well as reviewing the conditions of approval to ensure that the conditions that are applicable to the final map approval have been met at this stage.
Thank you. As being a part of that and having multiple discussions with residents in that area, I know it was at times contentious, but the process has been fulfilled. At this point right now, the track map is done, and this means that right after this, it's shovel ready, and I think that's been holding on to it. But the process was followed. We did have engagement with the community. We have discussions, and sometimes it wasn't pleasant. I know Mr. Crosby and myself met with homeowners, and we went through the process. Our staff has done their job as far as putting the process in place and making sure that it's ready to go. So I know that it's not always pleasant having homes built by you, but the tract does. It has been vetted, it's been approved, and it's ready to go. And I appreciate the staff's time on that. It's been a long road. And so at that point, do I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 2268.
Second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Good job, Cash.
4-1. Okay. Thank you. The motion carries.
Mr. Representative, declaring conflict on 2269.
Yes, sir. Please. No.
Yeah.
I think we voted. You voted. You don't need to remove yourself.
Come back.
You
were
And
automatic.
you don't have to leave the room for consent.
Oh,
So if it was a public hearing, then we would have to. Yes.
Can I just make one note? I'm sorry, I'm like woman typos tonight. For this resolution, sorry, 2269, under the third whereas, the amount needs to be corrected, it's missing a 2. Thank you.
So we move on to public hearings. Mr. Duff, item 7, public hearing wilderness plan.
Yes, the staff report will be given by Candace Bocock.
Principal planner Wilcox, good evening, how are you? That's a stack and a half, isn't it? It's old too.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. So the LaVerne Wilderness Area Management Plan has been in the works for many years, and I have included all of the background information leading up to this point in the staff report. I know there's a lot of information and a lot of work that's gone into this project over the years, so I'm going to try my best to just highlight the important information during the presentation, and if you have other questions regarding information that I didn't cover, just let me know. So first, the city attorney recused himself because of a conflict of interest. The city retained Barbara Leibold to represent the city on this matter. Mrs. Leibold is here tonight, sitting over there in the corner. Slide. So in 2006, the city acquired 208 acres, which are in the blue, through state grant funds obtained with LA County and Trust for Public Land and the LaVerne Land Conservancy. This land was combined with 150 acres, which is the green, already owned by the city to create an open space preserve of 358 acres, collectively referred to as the wilderness area. The area is located north of Golden Hills Road, east of Mountain Springs Ranch Road, and west of Stevens Ranch Road. In preparation of this meeting, staff sent out more than 600 notices to the surrounding area, which included every property north of Golden Hills Road and the neighborhoods to the south off of Divot and Clear Falls. Staff was contacted by 2 residents with simple questions regarding the plan. There were no concerns reported to staff prior to this meeting. Next slide. In 2007 and 2008, the city began the planning process. This included 3 public workshops that were attended by about 50 people, mostly neighbors of the area. The city also had individual and small group interviews with government agencies, special interest groups, and immediate neighbors to specifically discuss public access. The public access discussions took into account the legal requirements associated with the grant, management responsibilities, and alternative management methods and facilities that would be helpful in controlling the public access. In October of 2008, a draft plan was produced, but at that time, due to a lack of funds to complete the EIR, the city postponed any action. In 2015, at a council workshop, staff was given direction to hire a consultant to prepare the plan and the EIR. Rincon consultants were chosen to prepare those documents. And in 2016, another public workshop was held to get direction from the community on how to create this plan, while also providing low-impact outdoor recreation and educational experiences. At this time, a plan was drafted that includes selective habitat enhancement actions, the resolution of public safety hazards, and opportunities for limited controlled public access as part of the city's stewardship responsibility for the area. The Planning Commission held a meeting in 2018 to review the plan and make a recommendation to the City Council. Residents attended and a majority voiced their concerns and objections to the increased public access into the area. After listening to the residents' concerns, the Planning Commission voted to continue the item to determine what the next level of public access would be appropriate. Next slide. The item returned to the Planning Commission in January of 2019, where staff provided an update on the meaning of public access from Mr. Wicker, the Director of LA County Parks and Recreation. Mr. Wicker stated that the current level of public access to the wilderness area is sufficient to meet the reasonable public access requirements. So the current level is referring to this switchback trail located off of San Dimas Canyon Road that's identified in the photo. Many people attending that meeting, including a number of cyclists who voiced their concerns and the desire to have the trail connecting to the Sunset Motor Ridge Trail. Also speaking at that meeting were residents that live adjacent to the area on Monterey Street and Golden Hills. These residents continue to speak in opposition to the increase of public access to that area. The Planning Commission had a split vote of 2-2 to recommend City Council adoption of the plan. Staff in the LaVerne Land Conservancy met with Adrian Dunphy, Deputy Monument Manager with the U.S. Department of Agriculture with Forest Services. According to Ms. Duffy's letter, portions of the area fall within a small portion of the Angeles National Forest known as the Experimental Forest. The Sunset Motor Ridge Trail is identified by the Forest Service as an administrative road used for management of the area and to provide access to sites located within the forest area. Public access to this trail is not consistent with the current management of the experimental forest. The letter also states that the Forest Service would not support any new trails that connect to or encourage access to the experimental forest area or through it. Staff also met with the LaVerne Land Conservancy again to discuss their ongoing concerns related to building more trails and opening the area to more public access from the LaVerne side. The Conservancy requested that an objective to the resolution be added to ensure that the process continues into the near future. Objective 1.0 was added to the resolution stating, the city will support and engage with the LaVerne Land Conservancy to further evaluate and explore feasibility for possible trail and accessibility options within the limits of the existing EIR. It is intended that this effort would take place within the next 24 months. This is how staff came to the 2-phase approach. Phase 1 consists of maintenance, security, fuel mod, planting, and protecting the area. The preserved and kept safe with no additional public access or any trail connections. Next slide.
One more time. Make that one part really good.
Phase 1 consists of maintenance, security, fuel mod, planting, and protecting the area. The area will be preserved and kept safe with no additional public access or trail connections. Phase 2 includes the development of a loop trail and the increase of public access to the area. The trail would be a 0.6-mile loop south of the open space area just north of Monterey Street, depicted here in this photo in the blue. I want to be very clear that the conditions were added that if there is ever a desire for phase 2 to move forward, an update to the EIR would likely be necessary, and public workshops and city council approval would be required prior to moving forward with phase 2. This will ensure that phase 2 will only move forward with proper notification to the residents and ultimately a vote by the city council. The plan went back to the planning commission for a new vote in April of 2019, and the planning commission voted to recommend approval to the city council with the 2-phase approach. There was an EIR done for this project, which was also prepared by Rincon. This final EIR was reviewed by city staff for completeness and adequacy. All impacts were defined as less than significant or less than significant with mitigation incorporated. A table of all mitigation measures can be seen in the attached draft EIR on page 4, and the attached final EIR contains individual responses to each comment received during the public review period for the draft EIR. Staff and the Planning Commission recommend City Council adopt Resolution 22-72 approving the Wilderness Area Management and Public Access Plan and certifying the final environmental impact report. Deanna Hansen with Rincon is also available on Zoom if anyone has any questions related to the EIR. And then, like I said, Barbara Leibel is here, and I am available from staff if you have other questions.
Anybody have questions for staff before we go to public comment? Council?
I would like to just make one comment. When I'm looking at your cover letter, or the first page of the presentation, it shows a fairly wide path there, but there is no access of this nature into the area, is there?
No. That picture was chosen at the very, very beginning, years and years and years ago. We can change it.
I mean, it doesn't represent what we are improving as far as access to the area.
As far as access with phase 1, correct.
Yes.
Anyone else before we go to public comment? We'll go to public, we're going to open up public comment on this. Do we have anybody that wishes to speak on this? Come on. Just if you could state your name and your address and...
John Tyre, 7115 Monterey. I've been resident there for 12 years. We talked about this a couple of years ago. When it was addressed, no one talked about the trash, how they were going to secure it, how they were going to give the public access, how they were going to deal with the additional security measures that were necessary for the houses in the area. It was all kind of a general statement that was made. Now we're talking about putting in 8-tenths walking area where around that area there's already so many walking and hiking trails. The one that is on the south side of the golf course, there's plenty of areas there to walk and hike. And to put this in there when you have deer that are there now, when you have lovely oak trees, and what you're talking about is endangering that area to give an 8-tenths walking trail when there's plenty of other walking trails around. And saying that, oh, we'll give you a 50-foot fence 50 feet from the back of your house, that doesn't add security, that doesn't help the people on Monterey in the area to secure their houses. It is a very dangerous thing that we're talking about. And without additional information, additional planning, I think it's a very dangerous thing to give the okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah.
have staff reiterate some of those points because it might address some of the other like-minded comments and questions, but I would like to have that made clear.
Just to clarify what the actual use is and what we're actually doing.
Thank you.
Phase 1 and phase 2.
Yes, so phase 1, it stays as is. No increase to public access, no trail. That's what we're approving tonight. Phase 2 is where the public access is given and the loop trail, which cannot happen until it comes back to city council sometime in the future, if that's what council chooses. So today, phase 1, we will just maintain what we've been doing, fuel mod, everything that we've already been doing to protect the community.
So for purposes of further clarification, I just want to make clear, a vote yes on a motion, assuming the motion is made and seconded, for this allows for the area to exist as it is right now. No changes. The safeguards that have been put in place for the residents that live in that area is the conditions that require that there actually has to be a desire to move forward with phase 2, an acknowledgement and a notice that would have to go out to the residents, and a final vote by the city council. So there are 3 steps that would have to be essentially put in place before anything could happen. So I just want to be very clear about that so that nobody thinks that there's a trail going in tomorrow or anything like that. Thank you.
Well, also that is also a dollar sign on that also. Phase 2 would be,
Absolutely.
especially not only the EIR, but also the cost of that. So right now, specifically, as Councilmember Lau pointed out, phase 1 is leave it alone, make sure it's fuel mod, and make sure that we take care of the fire situation and monitor that property. And it's going to stay the same as it is now. That's it.
Yes.
I just have one question.
But you can,
So,
It's okay, come on up.
please come to the mic, state your
All right.
name and I think you have the same address, but
yeah, same address, Carolyn Carter, 7115 Monterey Street. So a vote yes leaves it the same. A vote no leaves it the same.
No. So Candace, can you clarify what happens if it gets voted down?
There's an obligation from the grant money that we received to obtain this land, and it has stipulations on us providing this public access. So we need to have a plan in place also to be able to do the maintenance, protect the wildlife, and do fuel mod, and it's all very necessary. So a vote no, worst case scenario could possibly mean that we have to pay back that grant money.
which has already been repurposed, is that not correct?
That I'm not aware of. I don't know what you mean.
The grant money? It's been spent.
It's been spent.
I'm sorry, I have one question that's burning desire in my heart right now. What are we doing as far as maintain, I mean, like, are we clearing the shrubs, are we feeding the animals, I mean, what are we doing as far as maintaining that area?
Nothing. We're not supposed to do much.
What is
Very
much?
limited,
What is it?
as far as, grazing plan that we have in place.
Right.
I know that goats are often used up there in that area to
Sure.
kind of clear away some of the brush.
I
We're
see.
allowed to clear non-native plants,
Okay.
but not the native.
Any
So
other
I'm
fire
thinking
protections that we're
There's
doing?
fire protections, the oak trees are brought up 6 feet, whatever that is. I'm completely sure.
Do we have a list? I mean, can I get a list?
Yeah, we have a grazing plan that was adopted.
Okay.
It's through the Public Works Department, which is why I'm not completely
No, it's okay, I mean,
versed on it. But yes, it exists. We can share it with you, I'm sure.
please.
Thank you, Ms. Pocock. Any more public comment on this item? Mr. Ford, welcome.
I'll be brief, just kind of cut right to the chase. As I understand it, a yes vote opens the door to phase 2.
Correct.
A vote no shuts it all down.
It's my understanding we have to do this vote tonight to not have to be required to pay back those funds that the city was given to acquire the property.
Okay,
So-
so that is why a yes vote still opens the door to phase 2.
Well,
Well, that is never closed. I mean, unless somebody else wants to purchase the property and do it themselves, a future council can always change their mind and open it up. But we're not doing that tonight. We're saying it's gonna stay the way it is right now.
I understand, but that isn't part of the yes vote, is that you're acknowledging that, but you're also allowing potentially phase 2 to happen, given all that criteria that was ever met.
Well, and those are the safeguards that were put in place because of the concerns that were raised. And to the mayor's point, in addition, the amount of money that would be required to initiate phase 2 is yet another, I don't want to say obstacle, but it would be yet another hurdle.
I understand that, but my point is very simple, and I'll sit down. Incrementally, that's how things change.
Right.
And that's my concern as long as I live next to that property, incrementally allowing this discussion. And, you know, here we go again.
It's not necessarily something that I wanted, this piece of property. When I was on the council previously, I didn't really care for this, but it's something that the National Forest would not accept as ownership for. LA County was the original person or entity that was going to accept the land, and they decided to bail out. And the city was put in a position to accept this deal, and I think it was a bad decision from the get-go. But here we are, and the plan right now that we're approving is not to make any changes to its current
Situation. And again, I'll just reiterate what I've
But
said
it-
3
but the
times.
door is there.
Already, the door now is open with that on the table. And that's all I'll say, so just be aware of that as you're voting, the will of the people. So that's all I have to say.
thank you, Mr. Ford. Anyone else? Other comment? Ms. Simonson, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Jennifer Simonson, 1977, Golden Hills Road. And of course, we're planning next to this property. And I have a photo I wanted, because I know some people haven't been involved in this since 2006, or maybe 1984, or when we started. But this land, a lot of this land we're talking about, which is right next to all the people, is, this is the last of the abandoned orchards in North LaVerne. So when we moved here in '79, everything north of LaVerne, Jim and I, was all orchards. So what this is the last of the abandoned orchard, and it seems so, I don't know the words, I'm not gonna say the word, but the idea that it's a nature reserve and it's been a wilderness park, and you know, there is junk up in there. There's an old packing house concrete area that's in there. You know, so the fact that the powers that be are making the city treat it like it's a nature reserve and no one's ever been there, it's been smudge pot, it's been graded, you know, it's the last of everything. So what happens is I'm just concerned being in just phase 1 where you do nothing, so it's gonna look like it does today because Fish and Wildlife say you can't touch dead limbs, dead trees. You can't lift the canopies. The only reason the canopies are up is when the goats come. They eat as tall as they can get because the grass. And this year you guys you were able to get the goats in February. And if I had my photos for you right here, the weeds are high, they're dry behind our neighbors' houses, they're dry. And the last meeting we had, we were talking about the fire prevention, and they said, you guys can't go weed whack now. You can't go in and cut the weeds down. So you think Sierra LaVerne's a mess, please come over. And I can show you the down trees and the down things, and they're treating it like a nature reserve. It's an abandoned orchard. LaVerne is abandoned orchard full of homes. So I still think when you say we're doing nothing, I think we need to be stronger and bolder for the safety of the people in North LaVerne, because if any part of that catches on fire, it's going to go through Mountain Springs Estates, it's going to go across the back of all the nice homes and people up there. We got out about Page with trouble put fire behind all of us, and it's gonna be trouble. So I think we need a bolder stand against the people trying to tell us it's a nature reserve. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else? Anybody else? Just state your name, your address, please.
Mr. Ramos, 72515 Market Street. I just, I work for the city of Los Angeles, and I know as we're, more and more, we're starting to see more, homeless people in the area. And then now we're looking into opening this up, which can then get people in there. And I'm around fires that in downtown area all the time. And these guys, they come in and they want to just stay warm at night or whatever. And they're in our backyard. And you do see it every here and there. You just have one crawling up there. I've seen a couple, so. I know when this first started, that wasn't the case here with all the homeless. But it's, that's another problem we're facing. And it's a big problem in downtown LA. It's slowly migrating more and more east. I'm afraid of, again, I'm a homeowner there. I bought there. The place is beautiful, private. And now it's just to have someone back there and, threatening my home. It's, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think something's good. I do have one other question. And I'm not sure, so there are some oak trees and there's a little trail coming in through the side and in the back. I can see it from my backyard. There's new oak trees. I'm sorry?
Yeah, if you could just pull it up too.
Okay, I'm sorry. So there's some, looks like someone's been back there planting oak trees already, like some sort of trail towards the back, coming from Golden Hills. So I'm not sure what that's about. There's also a new fence on a little street right off of, can't think of the name, help me out, guys. He lives right next to it. But anyways, I noticed there's activity there, and I know it's saying, it almost seems like things are moving, but maybe it's for another reason. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Speed?
Excuse me, sorry.
Again, your name and address, please.
My name is Debbie Popovich, and I live at 1943 Clear Falls Avenue, across the street from where this is going. And when I first moved into LaVerne in 2014, during that time there was a huge discussion about building homes up in that area. And the people went crazy about that, and we weren't going to let that happen. I agree with what's being said about this first phase. We don't know what they're doing in this first phase. I mean, it's like you asked, what is the list that you're taking care of? And then, is there a time period that, when the 3 years, 4 years before phase 2 automatically gets implemented? What if there's a new council and they change their minds? What are people supposed to do? That's always going to be an issue. And how do you want us to feel about that? We have absolutely no control, no say whatsoever. Can somebody publish whatever it is this lady said that they're currently doing that we need to be educated on? So we have some idea of fire hazard, what are you doing for the animals, what about the coyotes and the mountain lions coming down? If we disrupt them even more, they're coming.
Thank you. This is Simison.
I have one thing that might help the lady just spoke is there is zero access off of Golden Hills Road. That's our driveway, and the city's land doesn't come down there. So phase 1, 2, other city council, anybody else in the world, we're not letting them through on Golden Hills Road. So the only little access is that no-name street that none of us know what the name of it is. That's the only thing, and that's highly unlikely you're going to get a big crowd. So Golden Hills is off the market.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
The map shows that access off Golden Hills, does it not?
It's not.
No, it's not. Anyone else? council members. I mean, this has been going on for so many years, and I appreciate everybody's comments because I live up there also, and it's very dangerous, besides here LaVerne. And this plan is to basically maintain it and clear it and monitor it. Phase 2, you're right. I mean, another council could come in and say, hey, but I don't know if anybody's walked up there and been in that area. I'm sorry. As Jennifer stated, it's a lot of old equipment that's below grade, it's been flooded, there's fence posts that are sticking out this far now because when we had those floods back a number of years ago, it's very inhospitable area, and this is the way for us to close it off basically and maintain it. We have a new fire marshal, we have a new chief, they're very aware of what's up there, and to keep it clear. And like say, phase 2 could happen with some other council, as Mr. Johnson stated, but this right now protects us as a city. We're gonna already put this in our budget to make sure that this place gets monitored and cleared. I don't know anyone that goes up there, but your point was well taken about homeless. Yes, they are. And here's the issue. If you see homeless up there, call the police. They are not allowed to be there. I know that San Dimas Canyon was just, the sheriffs went up there and was clearing people out, and they're still doing it. So you see people on the streets, you see people back there, call now. They have no business being back there because, as we know, it's a tinderbox. But as the city, with this item here, this protects us. This has been discussed at length for years and years now, and it is an inhospitable place. It is not a place to go walking up there. Quite frankly, it's dangerous. It really is. And so, seal it off, phase 1. We take care of it. We complete what we need to do for our responsibility. Phase 2, if it's ever even discussed, then you people need to come up, including myself, and say, hey, no, it can't. We don't want it. City Manager Duff.
Mayor, it may be helpful to invite the attorney that the city has working with it on this issue.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Barbara Legal, Legal McClendon and Mann, Special Counsel on this item. Couple of points, and I'm happy to answer questions. I think it was Councilmember Johnson that said the city kind of stepped in at the last minute when grant funds that were offered to the county by the state were at risk of being forfeited, and the city stepped in. And what, as a consequence, the city has all of this open space property, and what we've been dealing with for decades now is the tension between the terms and conditions of the grant funds and our pre-existing open space areas. So the proposed wilderness plan is a requirement of the grant. It provides for very minimal activity. Fish and Wildlife, the members of the audience pointed out how strict Fish and Wildlife is in monitoring the city's activities. We have an approved grazing plan. Phase 2, which would provide for that small loop trail, again, cannot proceed without a public hearing, additional environmental review, whether that's a subsequent supplemental or addendum to the existing EIR, additional public input. It's not on the table now, but the outline is here so that we satisfy the grant terms. The grant itself, I think I said, was used to acquire the property. So there are no funds available in the city's coffers to repay those grant funds. What we were told at this point is the minimal access that is presently there with no change is sufficient to satisfy the grant terms, and that's why we're able to bifurcate this into 2 separate phases. So hopefully I've answered some questions, but I'm available if you have any other questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any questions for council?
How much money are we talking about? I just out of curiosity.
I think it's over $650,000. Yeah, no small amount. Yeah. The city stepped in at the last minute because the grant funds were about to be forfeited and the county backed out. So we can all second guess that decision, but we are where we are, and we are the recipient of those funds and the steward of these open space properties.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, council?
Actually, I think, I remember from when I moved in 2005, this was the discussion. I think it's fortunate us to have this because we get to say so. If we had the county coming in and taking over, they are so far removed from this that they could have put a trail in without our input. So us being in control of this and having the input of our residents, which have been loud and clear that they don't want a trail there. And not just tonight. It was, Ms. Simonson, you said in '84, I wasn't back here back then, but I know in 2008 and 2000, I think it was 15, and then 17, and then 19. It's been the same from the residents in North LaVerne. And so, again, if we didn't step forward, then the county could have came in and just did what they wanted to do, which we have seen too many times and too many things. So having the city being in control allows us to say, we've heard you, we don't want a trail. Now, if a new council, if we voted no, and a new council came in next 2 years, they could change that vote as well. And they could have a different mindset too. So us saying yes to phase 1, saying before there's ever a phase 2, it would have to come up. And us saying yes to phase 1, saying no, we're not putting a trail, and that is our plan, and that's what we heard loud and clear, I think really puts a stamp on this and saying what the city is and the residents are saying is being heard too. So that's my take on it.
Did you say that too, Verne?
The county doesn't want that piece of property, by the way.
No.
At all. So this, I think this is, as we stated, this is a safety measure. And it's the first safety measure, I think it's a good measure. I mean, we've been talking about it for a long time. Put this thing to rest and leave it like it is and clear it up when we need to. Councilmember Johnson.
Just to make a plug for the 4 districts and an elected mayor. We only get to vote currently for 2 council members in North LaVerne. The other 3 come from South LaVerne.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Way to not let up on that, Steve. Good job.
I need a motion.
I need inclusive.
I so move to approve resolution number 2272.
Sorry. Second.
I'll second.
Second. Mr. Cash, vote please.
Measure pass 5-0.
Okay, we move to other matters. Item number 8. Mr. Duff. JR.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have this item. Mayor and City Council, the city has been without a permanent finance director since June 13th and has been working with retired annuitant Mike Yeldon to facilitate oversight of the department. This has been a challenging task considering the vacancies in multiple positions as well as the unfamiliarity of some of the new hires in their positions. However, the inner workings of finance have been maintained and functioning due to a lot of credit of former full-time employee Christy Lopez, who has been coming in on weekends and her off hours to help make sure that finance is still performing the duties that it is required to do. This has been a significant relief to the city and is an example of Ms. Lopez's dedication and loyalty. As noted by Interim Director Yeldon, there has been a tremendous impact related to the departure of key employees, specifically Ms. Lopez. Mr. Yeldon assessed that Ms. Lopez was finance's longest-serving employee and was considered his most knowledgeable and capable. The opportunity to bring back Ms. Lopez was presented in August to the City Council during closed session. There was unanimous support as a result of Ms. Lopez's qualifications and ability to rebuild the department. Ms. Lopez's knowledge of the required functions will also provide needed stability and resolve many of the challenges that the department currently faces. There is a professional risk for Ms. Lopez to leave her current agency to come back to LaVerne, which is why there is a request for a 2-year commitment from the city, as well as a formal affirmation from the city council. Additionally, since Ms. Lopez has been separated from full-time employment for over 6 months, the council needs to authorize a reinstatement of benefits she was previously provided, which will not be greater than that which is allowed to other executive employees. Staff recommends the City Council approve resolution number 2270, affirming Christy Lopez as the Director of Finance for a term of no less than 2 years and reinstating her previous benefits. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Thank you, JR. Any questions for staff before we go to public comment? We're going to we'll open public comment. Do we have anybody to speak on this issue?
Who talks about county?
Just a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay, that's not a comment, but we'll take that gesture. Thank you.
It's the right finger.
Anybody online?
No emails received.
Then we're going to close public comment, bring it up to the dais. Council comments.
About time.
I will say that I've known Christy for some time now. I've been on council for almost 7 years, and she knows the internal workings. She knows what's going on. For her to come and the City of Ontario to give us her on an interim basis, while we had issues with our finance director once she left, Christy's just done an incredible job to keep us stable, which is very important. Our finance department is so important, so critical for our city, but she's coming back with open arms. We're very happy to have her. She's coming with a lot of energy too, so she's learned quite a bit from Ontario. I'm sorry for Ontario, not really. I'm very happy. I couldn't say enough to Christy. She's welcome. I think that she's going to just do wonders here and rebuild us, and possibly in the future put a new accounting system in TACT, because our system is a bit old and we need a new breath of fresh air on it, and then she'll be able to do that. And, we're tickled to have her. With that, motion.
I move to approve resolution number 2270, affirming Christy Lopez as the Director of Finance for a term of no less than 2 years and reinstating her previous benefits.
Second.
Second.
Vote, please.
And that motion carries 5-0.
You gonna call it? Call it right now, please.
I'll text you right
Okay, we move to item B, agreement of temporary employment with Anthony Ciotti, resolution number 2271. JR.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is you as well. Former Director of Public Works, Sean Igo, has recently separated employment from the City of LaVerne. The city is interested in entering into an agreement with retired Deputy Director of Public Works, Anthony Ciotti, to fill the city's current gap as an interim while a recruitment process for a permanent replacement is completed. In order to be compliant with California law and the 2013 Pension Reform Act, it is necessary for the City Council to take an action affirming the execution of such employment arrangements. And the attached resolution will satisfy those requirements. Mr. Ciotti's vast experience and expertise with the public works functions will allow for a smooth transition of projects as well as fill our immediate need. The city has confirmed with CalPERS that the reasons for retaining Mr. Ciotti satisfy the required standards and is bringing forward the agreement for council's consideration. It is important to note that on a fiscal perspective, the arrangement does provide a savings of approximately $25,000, as Mr. Ciotti will only receive an hourly rate and will not be eligible for other employee benefits. With that, staff recommends the City Council approve resolution number 2271, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Anthony Ciotti to provide temporary part-time work.
Thank you, JR. Any questions for JR before we open up public comment? We're going to open up public comment. Any comments on this item? It's open for public. JR, anything on the?
No, sir, no hands raised, no emails.
We're going to go ahead and close public comment and come back up to the dais. Any comments, staff or council?
I think in the future we need to consider succession planning a little more. I mean, coming into this, we've had multiple department heads that have had to be replaced at one time. And it doesn't seem like we have people ready to step up to fill those positions. We really need to work on that, and I'm sure we'll be discussing that with the city managers, the applicants for city managers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Very good point. We will be hiring a city manager soon. We do have a meeting next week to interview, and I do agree, succession planning is extremely important. But on the comment of Mr. Ciotti, he knows everything about everything in this community. He knows everything about public works. He knows everything about fire and police. He's well suited for this. I'm disappointed that Mr. Agel left. I'm very disappointed, actually. But I think that Anthony's going to be a great fit for us for as long as it takes us to get somebody to run the show. But Tracy's back there smiling. Yeah, Anthony's just a great guy, and he knows everything about all the public works, like I say. So I'm very happy to have him come on board and help us to figure this out and get us out of this hole. So with that, any other comments? I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Vote, please.
We got it.
Oh, we got it. Motion carries. Item 9, public comments and oral communication. If you wish to have public comment, here's the time to speak your piece. Ms. Beauchamp, come on up.
I actually want to thank Pam Berry for bringing up this idea and then thank the city for actually implementing it. She made the suggestion that, in the minutes for the city council meetings, that a brief explanation of the comments of the people who come to the podium and speak. And Loopy and Deborah have made that happen, and I truly appreciate it. I know that a lot of times there's a lot of speakers and that just adds a lot of extra work for them, but it's something that's really appreciated because sometimes you don't always remember what you said, and it's nice to be able to go back and refer to that. I also want to thank the city for rehiring Christy. I will be sad. I work in the city of Ontario, so I'll be sad to see her leave. I don't work for the city. I work in the city, but sad to see her leave.
Oh, well, Danita. Oh, well.
Well,
Sorry.
as you know, I'm sure, even though I work there, I have had dealings with the city, and she's always been so highly spoken of, and so I'm glad to see her come back. But I will say that the council should have never let her go in the first place. She should have been hired instead of Marla, and I know that's Monday morning quarterbacking, but you know what? You guys need to learn from your lessons in past. And just like he said, as Mr. Johnson just said, we need to work on the succession. This is something that is a serious issue, and it's starting to concern the residents. I mean, all of these people are leaving, it seems like in mass quantity. I mean, I hate to make this comparison, but, rats know when to jump ship. What's really going on back there? I no disrespect, but I mean, for a lack of a better explanation, what are you being mean to everybody, Tam? I mean,
You always have such a way with words. Why are the
I
rats
say it like it is. I say what everybody thinks. I'm just one that says it out loud. So, but thank you to the city for both of those things. Thank you.
Thank you. I like that. Next, please, come on up.
I'll make this quick and easy if I can, because I know this is going to be a long night. I don't know that I made enough of these.
We'll share.
My name is Gary Eske. I live in LaVerne down on Peyton Road. I've been a resident for about 40 years now. Fell in love with it the first time I went to the Village Inn and had breakfast. We've heard a lot about people up north dealing with all the traffic, having the walkway, all those problems up there. Very annoying, and I understand what they're going through because no one likes to have their peace and quiet invaded. My issue is we've got a brand new train system coming in. We're going to have twice as many trains going around, and those horns from my house down, it's irritating at my house. Every time I go out to water my plants, I hear the horns. Every time I go out to barbecue, I hear the horns, open my windows, the horns, I go for a walk. I get down to Bonita Avenue, my ears are hurting, the trains are so loud. You get down by the college, that's gotta be, well, I won't say what, but it's really hard on the college. There's a way out of it, and it's simple. We meet all the qualifications of not having the horns blow. It's called a quiet zone. All you have to do is have the arms that come down, the flashing lights, you got the bells. We don't need to hear the horns. We no longer have cattle going across the trails and stuff like that. That's very old school. And I would think, you can hear them coming from Sandy all the way to Claremont, they're so loud. They might as well just leave them run the whole time. It's like having an angry truck driver behind you on the freeway. 4 cars back, not knowing that the guy ahead of you is stopping for a pedestrian, honking his horn. So I'd like to check. I tried to call the city, and they said, well, we'll let the railroads know. Well, that's another way of saying we're not going to do it. But it's a simple thing, and the council can probably take care of this. And I think a lot of residents in LaVerne would be glad to have a little more quiet evenings, quiet mornings, quiet Saturdays and Sundays. So if you could look into this, I'd be very happy to talk to anybody.
We can comment that.
I would say the city manager would. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Any other public comment? Mr. Bowen? Oh, I'm sorry, Gary, good next. Oh, Gary, come on. He's seceded his 3 minutes for you. Come on up.
Well, I've come here to talk about the swamp. It's not in Washington DC, the swamp we have here.
Where?
Is anything 210 freeway and Walk Bridge from Chelsea? I brought it up the last time I was here.
Standing water.
Standing water, mosquitoes. Can something be done about the mosquitoes thing?
On the field. Is it on the green belt in the park?
No, it goes over the freeway, it's in the
Oh, the walkway?
Yeah, so over the walkway, there's a trace from the city.
So it collects.
Yeah, to the park.
Okay.
Over there, it gathers over there, and there's weeds and there's mosquitoes all over.
Okay.
So if they get taken care of the mosquitoes, that'd be a good thing. And the other thing at the park, we got mushrooms growing on up there. Need to cut back from the water.
Gary, what kind of mushrooms are
They're not the good ones.
Oh. Anita, I want to get you in touch with Gary. All right. Okay.
Yeah, and one other thing, on B Street and Foothill Boulevard, there's a house there, building another house behind it. How does that happen?
Can't answer that. If it's an ADU, it's legal, so I don't know. We'll have to check. We'll give our new Public Works Director, Anthony Gianni, we'll give him some tasks when we start this.
Yeah, because I wanted to build further out of my patio, couldn't do it, but this guy's building a big ass, excuse me.
Another one, say it like it is.
So eloquently put, thank you.
So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, we had, Mr. Come on up. It's okay. Mr. Boyd is being very generous tonight, so.
My backyard is the Sierra LaVerne Golf Course. And it's between Divot and Golden Hills. There are dead trees. I'm sure you've seen it all. It's very noticeable. It's very ugly. Besides that, we also have, where our house is, an enormous amount of dead brush on the golf path right by our house. When are we going to be next for fire? What's being done? Everybody says it's in process. Everybody says they're working on it. We want to know what's happening. Where are those trees going to go? Who's going to clean that up? They're all looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, we're not supposed to respond, but believe me, we know.
Is there anybody else that we can contact?
I'll have, once we're done with public comment, I'll have the city manager say a couple words on that, where we're at with that. It is serious, yes. Extremely serious.
We just need one fool to flip something, and the whole area will go up.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Bowen.
Council, Mr. Mayor, in an interesting evening. I met the people up, I bought my house at 7115 Monterey in 1991. So it's nice to see them take care of it. Also, on a lighter note, I wasn't here last time, and I'm sure you all missed me. But I did get to hear Councilperson Lau tell us 3 times what an expert spitter she was. So I think that should be in the record somewhere. She bragged about it quite often. So
It's on video.
glad to know a slight personal.
Mr. Bowen, I leave for one meeting and we get the spitter.
And she apparently far because it goes into the fairgrounds. Anyway, the other thing is, yeah, I want to mirror Christy Lopez. I spoke to her over a few things over the years, and she was great. And it's interesting how we go through the process of hiring people and getting rid of people like her. And now, thank God, we're getting her back. And 2 years seems like too short a time because around here it seems like they do, I won't use the same, but they seem to be bailing quite often, especially at the highest levels, which makes no sense because we spend, I remember as business, you spent thousands of money for recruiters and a person to come and stay a year? Why? Who looks into that? Makes no sense. So hopefully, Christy, welcome. I hope and I know you're more transparent than the last city manager and the last finance director, so thank you. And on another note, I asked last time, and I can't seem to get an answer, whether it seems to be a secret or not, was Pendleton fired or quit? Not asking any details, but that would seem an easy question for the city to answer. And I don't think there's any legal issue with telling us. I do want to say to JR, made some CPRA requests about minutes, particularly the LaVerne Oversight Committee that's met now for, I don't know, 1.5 years, 2 years. There's no minutes. Why not? I've requested them, and either there are minutes that you won't share, or there aren't any minutes, which I would think would be a violation of a committee. So if somebody can address that, I'd love to do it. I've spoken to you a couple times. Lastly, or a couple things. The young lady that just spoke about Sarah LaVerne, we heard last time from the interim city manager that there's a plan. Well, can you share it with us? Because the place is a mess. And we talk about the 200 feet of clearance. I live in an HOA, and our people that live there back up to the golf course. There's no 200 feet away from their houses, and all we hear is we have a plan. Do you mind sharing it with us? We are the citizens, and we're the people most affected by this. But telling us we have a plan, but not telling us what that plan is seems to be a shame. Mr. Johnson, thank you again. You ran on district voting. Thank you for bringing it up. We asked last time for an update on that, received nothing from the city attorney. So hopefully tonight we can get an update on what the status is. Thank you for keep bringing that up. And lastly, again, a state audit. Tim, you ran on it. You ran on transparency. Mr. Johnson, you said you supported it. Mr. Cash, you said you supported it. But now 2-3 months have gone by, haven't heard one word about it. I asked for it to be put on the agenda. because that's the only way it can be discussed, but no one's willing to put it on the agenda. Why? Why can't we hear about the audit that the state recommended but was waiting for direction from the council? We have 3 new council members. All you have to do is vote. But at least put it on the agenda so we can have a discussion instead of meeting Mount Rushmore. And lastly, if the finance department is, and I think JR, you said, has been in disarray, that is seems like the most logical reason to have an audit. What the heck has been going on with our money for the last few years? And the state said they would provide a free audit. It seems like this would be the prime time to have them come in and help us. Free! Why not? Why doesn't somebody step up and do the transparency that you all talked about and you ran on? So I hope that happens. I hope we at least hear something tonight on what the status of that request would be. Last, I want to say one thing. I heard somebody tonight, I think it's named Mr. Howland. He talked about you followed on the Amherst. You met the requirements. But you all acknowledged that there was numerous homeowners. I sat here that said, let's meet again. Let's see the plan. Let's see the final before it's voted on like it was tonight. And it seemed like even the old council said, yes, that will happen. But what I heard tonight is the gentleman saying, we're okay because we met the legal. Forget the legal. How about the citizens that live here? They came to you guys, they asked you, a lot of them didn't want it. You said you would listen to them. Tonight you said, we followed the law. Nobody's talking about the law, they're talking about the citizens of this city having a voice. I hope you think about that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moe. Anything else for public comment? Anna? Oh, we already had one, Gary. No. You can call us.
Ann Anderson, Slow Drive. I want to talk about the meeting that Cassie had last week, or the week before, I'm not sure, in the chambers here. And I didn't get to go because I found out about it the last minute. And it wasn't recorded, and we had a recorder up there. How come it wasn't recorded? I think that all our meetings should be recorded, planning and everything. But, I mean, if we're in here and we have a recorder, it should
At
be.
Swag, it didn't work. We couldn't get it done. Wasn't that it?
We don't use it for.
We don't use it for the Cassie?
We should record all our meetings to have
They
transparency.
did it for planning commission, that's nonsense.
I mean, how many times did I come up here for almost a year and get that thing up there? You know, it took me forever to get that thing. We should have all our meetings recorded, even if it has to be done with somebody's camera and put it online. Because now I'm hearing stuff about this public banking that, from hearsay. And I don't know if it's all true or not. And I just want to make sure that it doesn't come to the city council for a vote until we have some kind of meetings on this, that somebody in finance comes and tells us the pros and the cons. Because right now, what it sounds to me like, it's a very risky investment for the city. I mean, a risky investment. Okay, in this economy that we're having now, it affects all the cities. Okay? We can't have risky investments. We have to tighten our belts now. And what I'm hearing about this is, okay, this might not be true, that people can join the bank, they don't have to have an address, they don't have to have a social security number, and I'm thinking, wow, this sounds like the mortgage rush that we had in the early 2000s. Okay, it started with, hey, let's everybody have the dream of a home. It was a great dream, okay? Let everybody get a loan and get a home. So we were selling subprime mortgages, and then all of a sudden, the houses started going up, and the feds got crazy because they wanted to calm everything down, and they started raising the interest rates. Well, subprime mortgages, people, have variable rates. They couldn't afford their homes anymore. So when we want to help people, we have to think also of the consequences of what happens to the people when they lose their homes or they can't pay their loans. That's a big loss to people. I've seen people in LaVerne, I mean, it happened in LaVerne, but if you went out east to all those new homes, you would have seen neighbors devastated. They lost all their homes. The kids that went to the blue something schools, what are those called? Blue ribbon schools. They had friends, they were playing on the streets and then got dead out there. And, and then what happened? Who made the money? Investors. They came and bought all those houses, they rented them out, and they waited, okay? And what about the people? What about the kids who lost their friends and their schools and everything else? There's consequences to trying to help people out. And we have to think about that before we start making decisions when people can't afford their homes when something happens and they lose them. But, that's devastating to lose your home. It's devastating. Those are all new families out there with young kids. And I don't want to see that happen again. I know people want to help people. I'm glad people try to think of good things for the city to, make money on. But really, we have to think about that. We have to discuss it before we get into that kind of stuff. Because I think it's just too high of an investment right now with the economy the way it is. And it's just economics 101. You keep printing money, the money has no value. And this is not supposed to happen for 3 to 5 years. But where are we going to be in 3 to 5 years? We don't know. If they keep printing money, we're going to be in trouble. So we have to think about this. We've got to get a finance person in here, and people have to ask questions before we decide to take on a high-risk investment like this. I don't like high-risk investment. I don't take it.
Thank you, Anna.
Okay.
For public comment? We're going to take a phone call.
Thank you for allowing me this time. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just wanted to renew my, urging for a vision for the city. We are headed in a turbulent time. We need to be rallied around something that is bringing us together rather than allowing us to always be divided. I'm actually shocked at some of the stuff that people have to say about their neighbors. And I'm concerned that we are so focused on the things that divide us rather than the things that bring us together. We have a goal line coming. Councilmember Kashipa, public safety is your thing, right? So we need to be talking about what's the vision for keeping our community safe for my kids. I see Ms. Gwen Card there, by Ms. Gwen. How are we keeping the community safe for our elders. You know, I serve on the board of Hillcrest. You know, this city means so much to so many different groups, but I don't see us rallying behind anything that unifies us. It was good to hear, you know, Councilmember Johnson talk about the roads here in District 1. You wake up at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, there are people all over the streets walking around. There's community here, there's a sense of community here, but, you know, it gets caught in silence. So I think as we're looking forward to hiring a new city manager, it behooves us to think about what we plan for this city to look like in 20, 30, 40 years, and actually sell that as a vision to us that we can all rally behind together, rather than the communities continue defining LaVerne, you know, based on our silos, and then falling into different camps because of it. I wish you guys a good night. That's the wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. No further comments? Mr. Chair, anybody else on the phone? Yes.
Want to do that first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Wayne Terry, I live on Esperanza in LaVerne. I don't have any weighty subjects. I just have 2 comments. Number 1, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for doing your posting on Instagram, your Minute with the Mayor. Usually very informative, sometimes very funny. Thank you for that. I appreciate the humor.
I'm glad. You weren't intended, but I'm glad. No.
So thank you for that. I want to say that publicly. Number 2, I tried to follow the city's guidelines on watering lawns. I've become crispy and brown. I've lost everything in the front and partially in the back. It just, the lawns that I had did not survive. So I'm in the process of trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. On the second comment, thank you for the city. I don't know who did it, but posted something about MWD has a rebate program. I've looked into that. I've actually started measuring today to see what is possible. So I'd like to see that kind of stuff to continue to go on because it's going to be expensive. And unfortunately, I'm in the situation of having to do something about it. So just again, thank you for that, and thank you to the city for doing their little part in trying to get us past this brown period.
Well, even though I'm not supposed to comment, but if you're gonna get those in, you get them in. Tracy's shaking her head. You must get them in, but don't do anything to your property until you submit your plans and submit what you're going to do with the square footage. But if you're gonna get them, those things dry up really fast. And so that's to anyone, and there's other districts that are doing it, but it does work well. If you can get in the queue and you can get into the system, it's gonna save you some dollars.
Yeah, it said, according to what I saw today, there's about approximately 60% of the funds left at this point.
Man, I would jump on that.
So, yeah, I did, like I said, it started today.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
We're good. Jared? We're gonna close public comment, bring up the dais. We will start with Councilmember Lau.
Sure.
The spitter.
The spitter, yes. That was just in terms of.
Oh, wait, excuse me, we have to.
Oh, that's right.
Mr. Duff, would you like to comment on some of the, especially the, if you can comment on the Sierra LaVerne and other issues that you have there?
Well, if the council would like, I would like to address or I would like to have Candace Bocock address the quiet zone issue with the goal line.
So the quiet zones are going to be addressed with the double track project actually that Metro has in the works. They are expected, it's not completely funded yet, but they are moving forward with plans. I think they're at 60%, I could be wrong on that. And they would be responsible for making every intersection in the city of LaVerne quiet zone ready, and then, which also includes the gold line. And then it would still leave the city responsible actually making them quiet zones, but everything will be implemented to make it easy for us to make it that way. So it's not gonna be fixed tomorrow, but in the future, there is a plan. And then just real quick, since I'm up here, the other Gary, I think, had a comment about a house on Foothill And B, it is an ADU, they have permits. Anything else?
Thank you, Candace.
And then as far as Sierra LaVerne trees, of course, the council's aware that our main concern are the trees that are down within 200 feet of a residence. And our fire chief, as well as our fire marshal, are gravely concerned about fire danger. We have gone through the administrative notice process to the property owner. That's run its course. The city received bids 2 weeks ago for clearing those trees within 200 feet of a residence. But at the same time, our attorneys suggested that we send an additional notice to the property owner. We did that. The property owner has responded in saying that they have enlisted a contractor that will begin work this Wednesday, clearing the trees and hopefully some of the brush as well that the fire department has identified as a fire hazard as well. Now, I want to also say this does not address all the downed trees on Sierra LaVerne property. The city is still concerned about those, but we are addressing those that create a fire hazard first. We will continue to work with the property owner to try to urge them to clean up the rest of the property. We are also developing an improvement to our municipal code for nuisance abatement, which will allow us to clean up properties such as Sierra LaVerne and be somewhat assured that we will recover our costs from the property owner. Do you think I covered just about everything we needed to there?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
I hope that helps everyone. It's a process with legal, and you have to, well, let's just not get into it. Yeah, it's dirty, it's messy, but thank you, I appreciate staff and the chief and our attorneys have been working on it diligently, and we really appreciate. I just want to see those chippers out there and cutting those up, and our staff is going to monitor the progress of that to make sure that it's cleared correctly. Is that correct, chief? Make sure it's cleared correctly. Some of those stumps are the size of a house, as we know. So, thank you, appreciate that. Councilor Lau.
Okay, just a quick notice for anyone who may be interested, but there is a Tri-City mental health meeting this Wednesday at 5 p.m. It is virtual, so if you are interested in participating and learning more, you can go to the Tri-City website and the Zoom information is there. And as I indicated at the last meeting, it is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. So it's really good to keep in mind your mental health and think about the people around you. So again, if you're interested, the meeting is this Wednesday, 5 p.m. and it's virtual. And the Zoom information and everything is online. The other thing that Kathy Newland reminded me of earlier this week that you may or may not be aware of is that there is a new link on the website that hopefully will make it easier for folks. Anytime they see an issue or a concern, calling us and emailing us is fine, but it's another layer. You can get directly to our department by using www.cityoflaverne.org/help. And if you go to that link, it tells you who to contact exactly for what. So if you see graffiti, who do you report it to so that it can get removed as soon as possible. So if that is helpful to you, please look at it, and I'm sure Kathy has the link and she can share it with you. So the other thing I do want to plug too is that I believe we have a beer walk coming up for any purveyors of beer.
We're coming back to the wine thing.
Just throwing it out there, but it is a Saturday, October 15th, and I believe tickets are available through Chamber.
Old Town LaVerne.
And Old Town LaVerne. So So that is an event that is happening. So if you would like to imbibe a beer with your friends and your family in a community setting, please consider it. It is also the same date as ULB's homecoming. So feel free to mix them and go. And with that, that is all I have. Have a good week.
Thank you, Councilmember Lau. Councilmember Crosby.
I just have a short item, and I'm just happy belated birthday to Councilmember Johnson. No.
I actually already had the voice on his phone. One is enough.
Okay.
Councilmember Cash.
Thank you, Mayor, I appreciate it. After returning from active duty, I was on active duty for a few weeks, and nothing greater in my life than serving God, country, and family. Able to come back and go to the League of California Cities, and it's a great opportunity for me to represent our city in the greater good here in California. It's represented from every city you go. We have different things that they talk about, whether it's ethics or if it's finances or if it's just the new incentive that's coming out. So I was able to attend that. You guys stole my thunder with the ordinance. I was going to talk about that. I really am looking forward to that ordinance. I love the law. And another part of that, there's another ordinance that I was talking to the city manager today and the city attorney, and hopefully as soon as completed, the ordinance regarding homelessness. And we won't get too much into that. That'll be brought to the city council. That's for you people to hear about. I'm always there, ready, willing, and able. Now I'm back out, so see me on the weekends, coming out knocking on your doors, not selling you nothing.
Solar?
Solar. No, I'm not gonna be there for solar. I know. That's another story. I'm sorry on that one. That's fine. But yeah, just coming out, just hearing what you guys have to say, what we can do better. I'm always willing and able. And happy birthday to Councilman Johnson. Another year around the summer. Trying to stay on the strong. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Cash. Councilmember Johnson.
I just wanted to thank everybody for showing up tonight. We, as a council, do appreciate your input in the decisions that we have to make. We may not always be able to go your way with a vote, but we do listen and we do respect your vote and your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. I'll just trailer on that one. It's not the easiest thing being up here, and it's not the easiest thing reading for everything and trying to listen to everyone in the community. We try to do our best. We always do listen. Sometimes it's not always exactly what you would like, but I think the most important thing is we look out for the interests of the community and also the safety of our reserves and our finances too. I'm very happy that we're bringing on some people here, a new finance director and an interim public works director, which is wonderful. And we'll work through this. And also this new city manager. There's change. Change is sometimes uncomfortable, but we'll get through it and we'll work through it as a community. We do have some exciting things coming, as Councilmember Lano stated, the beer walk. I'm happy about that. I'm very happy about the wine walk also, for other people who like wine. I just like to eat foods around. We also have Taste of LaVerne that's coming. And it looks like these things are just going crazy. So if you want to get your tickets, Director Scheer, the wine walk and the Taste of LaVerne, it's on the chamber site. And also,
Beer walk is oldtownlaverne.com. That's where you find the tickets, and the chamber's website has the tasting.
okay, and then the wine walk?
Well, the wine walk's not until next month.
Not till next month, but still, they're starting to. They've already got people that are sponsoring, so people are clamoring over themselves. They've got the Taste of LaVerne already the sponsorship for 2023. That's how popular it is. So a lot of things in our community. Shop local, like I always tell you guys. Any concerns? Get a hold of us. We try to do our best. As Councilmember Lau had stated, the new link on our website regarding any repairs or anything. Obviously, you can always get a hold of us, but we're really trying to make it so that if residents have an issue, get on that website, get it to the right department, and if time goes by and nothing's happening, give us a call. And if it's something of an urgent issue, like the homeless, we said, call the police. Please call the police. Don't sit on, especially in the hills. Call the police. We have had an uptick, there's no question about it. But let's try to use that website. Then also there's another one that Erin, who's in charge of the social media stuff, she also has a new link on our web page that's basically the first page you come up. All the things of interest that are going on are posted there. And that was by popular demand of people saying, it's very hard to navigate through our website. But if there's things going on, they'll be the first thing that you click on and open it up so there's information quickly for you guys. And please, give us comments. Don't be afraid. I mean, my gosh, this whole thing that JR had done with our website has changed. And it's kind of morphing into something that is more active, more information, easier to access, because I had trouble with it. And I know that the Boat Champ, when we had talked about it, it's like, you can't find stuff. Even the city manager, Mr. Rossi, couldn't find them, and was like, okay, so we're working on that. So, you know, we're a dynamic city. We do listen to everyone, so we really appreciate everyone being here now too. So, with that, we have a conference of labor negotiator. Is that correct? Closed session, Mr. Duff. And we will not be reporting on. Is that correct? We are going to adjourn in memory of retired water superintendent Charlie Farrell. Charlie was employed by the city of LaVerne for over 35 years. Charlie was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and joined the United States Air Force stationed in Boise, Idaho. After his service, he moved to LaVerne and started his career with the city of LaVerne in the Parks Department, and later transferred to the Water Department and became Water Sewer Superintendent. His commitment to the LaVerne community persisted through his retirement as he volunteered for the LaVerne Fire Department, 4th of July Parade, and Christmas candy giveaways for years. Additionally, Charlie fostered youth development with the local Boy Scouts and Booster Club groups. Charlie was honored with the Pride of LaVerne Award in 2006 in recognition of his dedication and passion for the LaVerne community. He is survived by 3 children, 2 stepchildren, and he was papa to 12 grandchildren and 7 great-grandchildren. He will be missed. He was an icon in LaVerne. He was always around. So God bless him and his family. We're going to adjourn Tuesday, September 27th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. for City Council to meet in closed session to review applications submitted for the city manager. Our next regular scheduled meeting will be Monday, October 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Thank you all.
Oh,